Hello, everyone. Welcome back to From Scarcity to Abundance with your host, Blaine Tesfaye Collins. I am so happy to have you here. Welcome. Happy Thursday, happy Friday Eve, happy fall. I can't believe it. Like, where has summer gone? But out with the old, in with the new. I want to say before I start the podcast episode to please grab a coffee, a water, tea, diet sodas, all the things. I had a matcha lemonade earlier from Good Omen, which is like this dope coffee shop, and it's in like University Heights area. It's so good. But I have my water. Disclaimer that I had recorded about 35 minutes of a podcast episode for you all today, and it got deleted, or it somehow didn't load properly. So, just like, yeah, that happens, and the universe tests you. And also, I was thinking, you know what, just throw in that towel, and just not record a second episode, or part two, or a redo, if you will. And I was thinking to myself, if my favorite podcast influencer didn't record a podcast episode and I was looking forward to it on that specific day, it would be a tragedy. So I wanted just to share and say thank you for your patience, and wanted to let you know what was honestly happening. I have a brilliant idea that I pre-record episodes, and that way, if there's like an emergency, like for example, I had a health concern today. The time of the month has been getting a bit severe for me just because I had been on birth control, and now I'm off of birth control, and the period has come back with a vengeance. And yes, I didn't get my day started till 3 o'clock, and I had an event with my husband, and I baked some banana bread. I had to do some juicing, and here I am. But this podcast episode, it means everything to me. This podcast itself means everything to me. You all mean everything to me. So you know what? Things happen for a reason. And you just gotta go with the flow. And if this was, if there was a previous Blaine, I would have like threw in the towel. I would have like crashed out and just like threw my laptop somewhere, because I was like, this is my hard effort. And all the things I want to say conveyed in a message that was brilliant. But you know what? The message still stands. It's got to be told, and I believe that heal people, and the healing takes place. And if I can help just one more person, then that would be such a blessing. It would be everything to me. It means the world to me. So the podcast episode title for today is called Speak Up for Yourself, and it's going to be in regards to health. So physical health, to go into specifics. I, after leaving a religious cult, had a series of health conditions and concerns that took place, such as migraine syndrome, heart palpitations, morbid obesity class 3 was like pretty bad, and just I had cysts in my spine, and that can happen from when you have a bad car accident or a heavy impact. So that could have been the case. And what else did I had the, pelvic pain, the periods, and I've had that for a long time, but it was just exacerbated with all of the trauma, because the body keeps score. And when you're in a place where you're not supposed to be, and let's say you have a child upbringing that caused you stress, and you had narcissism sprinkled with just bullying and sprinkled with your negative inner critic, then it leads you to hold things in your body. And it's that when you feel safe and when you feel good in a good place, then you can be able to release it and your body can actually heal. So I believe that I'm in the best place I could possibly be in, and that's why my body is like, okay, time to wake up, time to get it together. And my mind's done that, but now my body's catching up. And so I wanted to share with you how all of those concerns happened and how I was able to speak up for myself, because we live in a society where we don't ask for help, where Americans are individualistic, and if we grew up in an environment where we're walking on eggshells, and if we grew up in an environment where we weren't seen or heard, we were criticized, or we were, scolded for being too much, then we shranked ourselves and we didn't ask for help. Whether that was, learned by caregivers, the school system, friendships, just workplace environments, all the things. And that is not right, because we deserve the help that we need. When I was left the cult, I was severely depressed. I had anxiety, very mentally unwell, and passive ideations. I didn't have a will to really carry on. So that's why I'm making this episode, to show that my life's a testament. The fact that I'm here standing before you through all of these traumas and ups and downs, it goes to show that you can get through it. This too shall pass. The hard times, they come, but there's also good times that come as well. So what I will say is that I have struggled with my weight for most of my life, since I was in elementary school. Obesity is a disease. It is passed down. It is not your fault. It is a metabolic dysfunction, and the CDC has already officially said it was a disease, and it's an epidemic, and it's not your fault. It's not. We go through certain things in our lives where it gets us to be in the place that we're in. Okay, so I have always struggled, but since I have health insurance, I was able to talk to my primary care physician, and at first she had said, okay, go on a GLP-1, and didn't specify much about it, but just said, you need to lose weight. Like, you need saving. And it's like, okay, Dr. Karen, great. Tell me something I don't know. And so, essentially, I believed it was time to consider other factors. Like, I got off my birth control because I was getting bloated. It was messing with my hormones, my mental health. And even when I got off of it, I was still hitting a plateau on my weight loss. And I have lost a total of 50 pounds as of right now. But I was stalling, and I was going to the gym, and I was meal prepping, and being consistent, and nothing was budging. And there was a combination of hormonal changes, and there's a combination of cortisol, there's a combination of insulin resistance and things like that. Practically, I was telling my friend and we're talking about how we're both, like, literally medical doctors at this point, like medical doctors in training, because we researched so much about hormones, and they're so important to, like, estrogen and progesterone, testosterone. There are so many. There's leptin, there's ghrelin, there's also GLP-1s. There's, the GLP-1 agonist. We also have that in our body. And basically it's like breaking down the food, and essentially for those who have insulin resistance, they break down faster, so that hence the food noise and hence the overeating and not knowing when to stop. So what I will say about that journey is that I did the research. I went on to look at scholarly articles, and I was like digging and seeing what I could find. Went on YouTube videos, literally looked everywhere I could possibly look, and I found that there's a missing piece to this equation. I wanted to change my life for the better. My insurance didn't cover the GLP-1 because I don't have sleep apnea, because I don't have type 2 diabetes. And there's a step therapy program where essentially you have to go on to a phentermine, which is a stimulant for weight loss, and then you can eventually consider Zepbound. And so all these things were happening, and I just didn't want to wait, so I advocated, I researched, and I confirmed that this would be the best thing for me. And I'm not gonna lie, it has reduced my inflammation. I've actually been able to lose weight on top of my strength training, which I lift really heavy. I even was on the leg press this week at 220 and hip thrust 45 times 4 plates. So I lift pretty heavy, and on top of that, and meal prepping, just taking care of myself, staying hydrated, getting proper sleep, all of those things combined have helped me to lose the weight. But you are not alone. It's not your fault. You deserve the help that you need. You deserve the resources that you need. It's okay to ask for help, because why wouldn't we? Why are we not deserving of that? That's the crazy part to me. It makes me upset. It pisses me off, because all the doctors will say is, lose weight or do this or do that. And it's not a one size fits all. And handing medications out, I know some people are weary, but these medications have been out since 2013, 2014. They've been out, and they have successfully changed people's lives. And they have changed my life. And I wanted to say that there's no shame in looking for resources that are going to help you. I have a lot of inflammation because of my weight, because of also things going on in my body, my reproductive health, where I am undergoing a surgery next month for endometriosis, because that is the only way that we can see if there is actually endometriosis and diagnose it and then treat it. And so, long story short, asking for help will change your circumstances. You deserve it. Why not you? That doesn't make sense. That's not fair. You're paying for health insurance. Might as well do the research. Might as well, work with your doctor, but also stick up for yourself. Speak up for yourself for what's right, for what's necessary, so that you can heal. And that's where the healing takes place. So, needless to say, I've been on this GLP-1 since the end of June. It has been transformative. It has stopped the food noise on my head of food ruling my life. What am I going to eat? When am I going to do this? When am I going to eat this? When am I going to eat this? The sugar cravings, the emptying my... So slowing down my digestive tract, which then helps me to empty all that out and not have to think about food 24/7. It is reducing my inflammation. With the first day that I took it on a smaller dose, I could tell my body felt lighter. And granted, that could have been water weight initially, but it's amazing. It's life-changing. It's once a week where you inject yourself, and my goodness, it has healed me from the inside out. I have that confidence again. I have that belief in myself that I can do more, I can be more, I am more, and I just love it. I just really appreciate it. And although my doctor led the conversation with mentioning a GLP-1 briefly, I did ask her the questions, we did work together, and I did my own research and advocate for myself and spoke up and was like, okay, yes, I do need this. So I just kept silent and been like, woe is me, I'm just going to be this, overweight, obese woman for my whole life, and just I'm so sad. It's yes, it is sad, but it's not my reality, because I don't accept it to be my reality. So, speaking of a harsh reality, is that America does not value women's health. Let me repeat myself. America does not value women's health. It is tragic. Look at the administration. I'll just leave it at that. I want to get into detail about politics. This is not a political podcast channel. But what I will say is that I had to fight for me to get a gynecological visit to see a gynecologist. It took me months, because I was referred to see a gynecologist by my TRICARE insurance primary care physician, because it takes multiple steps for TRICARE, and that's another story. But I called every day to get off the wait list. My appointment was going to be January of 2026. But what I did was, my persistent self kept calling because this is BS and I am not going to wait this long. So I kept calling every day, and I got an appointment. So I got an appointment last month, and at the end of last month. And was it end of last month? Something like that, end of last month, beginning of September. I know time is flying. I can't even keep up. But I talked to my gynecologist. I first came prepared with a part of speaking up for yourself is being prepared. Came up with my symptoms, when they started, what actually happened, and what's happening now. And yeah, the doctor was like, okay, looks like you might have endometriosis. And I was like about to bawl my eyes out because I'm like, wow. The first gynecologist that I saw, or the previous gynecologist I saw, just hid it under the rug and put a Band-Aid over it. And I was like, you need birth control because that's going to stop your painful periods and your bleeding to the point of literally almost losing my life. Okay. Like, make it make sense. That's actually so ludicrous. And so once I got the appointment, I shared all the information. It was such a pleasant experience. And then I got another ultrasound to see if I still had ovarian cysts. And I did, but they got smaller. And then we talked about potentially surgery. My insurance is going to be up in next month. Sorry, not next month, November. So I was able to schedule a surgery because there is a high likelihood that I have endometriosis based off all my symptoms, and it is a chronic illness and inflammation in the reproductive organs, and these endometrial tissues shouldn't be there, and they're growing outside the uterus, and they are causing you to have irregular periods, pelvic pain, back pain, leg pain, bowel dysfunction, because endometriosis can be found in the bowel area and rectum, can be found in the intestines, can be found in the diaphragm, in the brain, in the spleen, in the pancreas, everywhere from head to toe. This bitch ain't playing. So it's just a lot. It's overlooked. It takes about over 5 years, about 6 years to get diagnosed with endometriosis, and in some places, I believe in the UK, it's like almost 10 years. And so women's health just in general is not taken seriously at all, which is a shame. It is a shame on our government. So if what I'm saying to you all is that you matter. This stuff didn't just appear overnight. It has appeared and has been brought to your attention. And I've done a lot of my healing and therapy. What I do have to heal is my body, because the body keeps score, and the body is now safe to heal. So I want you to know that you're not alone. I'm going through this with you. I've seen many horror stories about endometriosis where people are told that, oh, you're being a baby. It's like, don't really say you're being a baby, but it's not like, are you sure it's all in your head? Like, that's just period pain. It's normal. No, it's not normal. The doctor shouldn't be saying that. That's like, it should be criminal, actually, but they'll still say it. And so I refuse to take no for an answer. There's something going on, and I need to solve it. So therefore, I release what I need to release, but I also speak up for myself, because nothing's going to happen. If I don't, I'm just going to have to deal with this pain through and through. And I got off my IUD because I was tired of having these hormones in my body that weren't mine. I was tired of the bloating. I was tired of my PMSing and mental health concerns that have been going on for years. And I was just ready to move on. Heal myself the natural way. I got off of all my medications, my antidepressants, my stimulants, beta blockers, anti-anxiety. Got off all the things. Got off Adderall, because that is my number one priority. Is me, myself, and I healing and healing others and being there for my loved ones, because I gotta get better. I gotta do this for me, because who else is gonna do this for me? No one. So don't let anyone or anything tell you otherwise. Don't let the doctors gaslight you, because at the end of the day, I had to fight for this surgery. I somehow got an appointment next month to get this laparoscopy done, and my life is going to change, and I know it. And your life is going to change because you're going to speak up for yourself. You're going to. You have to. What else are you going to do? Just sit there and be like, oh, okay, like, it's a doctor, so, like, there are doctors, they just know. Like, please. I was able to have a full-blown conversation about my pelvic pain, endometriosis, and ultrasounds, about fibroids, about IBS, IBD, PID, pelvic inflammatory disease, histamine, and certain hormonal imbalances, PCOS, because I had the knowledge, and knowledge is power, right? So I might as well use it and then get what I need, and what I want is to be better. What I want is to be healthy, to be happy, to be alive. And that requires me to speak up. So I want to say thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. It will happen for you. You will get better. I'm here as a living proof. Someone who has dealt with immense trauma, PTSD and CPTSD all throughout my life. It does get better. It does get better, and you are not alone. You will never be alone. And if you need resources about the GLP-1, obesity, women's health, endometriosis, PCOS, please DM me, message me, comment on the podcast. Let me know your thoughts about the podcast episode. It's like, Drats, I would have loved for you to see the previous episode that I recorded that was 35 minutes that I poured my whole heart, mind, and soul into. But things happen for a reason. Things happen, and it's okay. I am calm. I am zen. I am at peace. Things happen for a reason. You can't predict the future. You can only be living in the present, and being in the present allows your eyes to be open when you do see and hear things, and you do make the decision that you need to make. Because I'm all about intuition, alignment, authenticity, trusting your gut. Trusting your gut, because the universe, something greater is out there that has our back. All the angels, the universe, God, everyone is with us, supporting us through the hardships, through the ups and downs, trials and tribulations. I say the Serenity Prayer every day because it really heals me. It healed me when I was in a work environment that didn't serve me and going through tough times with my mental health. And affirmations, manifestations, yoga, working out, walking, strength training, baking, painting, cleaning, and just being artistic and having hobbies heals you too. But I'm going to need you to speak up for yourself. Really, because I'm telling you, be able to stand before you and say that my health has never been better, besides what we're undergoing with the surgery, which is protocol because it has to happen. But a couple of years ago, I was in my bed suffering from migraines, just rolling around thinking, what's the point? I was sitting in the office to get iron IV infusions for hours through my hands because they couldn't find my, I had deep veins at that time. And, that experience being like, is this going to work? The bleeding that I had from my period, the pelvic pain I've had since I was a young kid, since I first started my period, all of these things, it's really just comes back full circle. Because I fought for myself. I didn't give up. And I will never give up. And you should never give up. You should never give up. Because that's not going to work. We are soldiers here. We are survivors. We're not going to give up. We're not going to stop. We're going to work harder. Queen Bee said that herself. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. Queen Bee. So, thank you. If you made it this far to the podcast episode, please share the podcast with loved ones and those who need to hear it, like your friends, family, acquaintances, any and everyone. And please rate my podcast 5 stars if you haven't already. It will get the message across to more people, and be able to do more with the podcast episode, like bring guests, do more with the content that I have. I am looking at a website for my podcast. I'm looking at polls. I'm looking at just ways to be more interactive, and that is a work in progress. But I want to say thank you for your patience again. This is part 2 of my podcast episode because I had recorded it prior, but you know what? It is what it is, and it is what it isn't. So I'm really grateful for you all. I love you. You are not alone. I'm here with you. I love you, and I will get you the podcast episode shortly. The show notes will be down below, and my podcast social media channels or just my social media channels in general will be in the podcast show notes. I will see you on the next podcast episode. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.